Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's workshop. Today we're going to do some work on this Harbor Freight Media Blast cabinet. I've had this for several years and I've used it and I've had my own concerns with it over that time. Part of it is the lighting on the inside, part of it is how it blows out media all over the place, in essence, unless you have some sort of vacuum system. And then another issue I have right now is the gloves. Those are worn out. So I bought a new pair of gloves from Harbor Freight, and I'm going to get some help with updating the lights. If you like videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification to see more. So what I have here is their standard issue Harbor Freight Media Blaster. I've had this for several years, and things like the gloves have worn out. So media is coming out of these openings. The light system in this, which is triggered by this switch, is terrible. It was terrible from when it was new. The vent system, you can block off this side with this plug, or you can actually have a pull on that with the vacuum. Back here, it does have a secondary vent, which is more of an inlet, supposedly, I guess. But I've just put this paper towel over it because it would blow junk everywhere. So you can see this is filthy. Back here is where I use this. I've had to move a bunch of junk, but you can see the wall, all the debris down here in the bottom. It's always been a pain. So what I've done is I built a little stand, a little roll-around stand. That's just an old bed frame that I cut up, and I bought some wheels from Harbor Freight, casters that have locks on them, so that when I get it in position, I can push on the lock and lock the wheels down. I think that's going to make it easier for use and also for cleaning up because, like I said, it's a mess back there. The plan is we're going to add some lights to the inside, but prior to that, I think I might want to just clean this thing up some before we get into it. So the plan is we're going to add these lights, which are available on Amazon. I don't know if there's another name besides that, whatever that is, but there are, I think, 4 lights in this kit, and you can attach these different ways. This appears that you've got some sticky material, like a 3M pad adhesive. You've got screws, so you could run screws through the ends of these, which I don't recommend on your media cabinet, but you can use these in other areas. Now, to make these work, we're going to have to lengthen these wires because we need to connect those. So we have some wire left over from who knows what. This is just generic, could be a speaker wire from a light utility appliance, so you could take some of that and add on to the length of these so that when you position them in the cabinet, if we put one, say here and here, you need to get to the switch. So by adding that length, we can route it up and bring it across and get into this box. So we'll take that apart as well and then connect everything, and that gives us our power source. So I'm going to get started on getting one of these put together. Okay, so we have the light. We're going to extend the wires on, and I'll let Robert explain how he's going to do that.
Alright, what I've done here is I've actually offset our joints here. So you can see we've got an offset here. So that way we can solder this one and solder this one, and we don't end up with a big bulge here. We don't have to worry about poking wires going into the next one. And now I've also added heat shrink tubing. So after we solder this on, we'll slide this one down onto there, and that will solder, or that will seal that one together. And then as that's together, we will slide this one over the entirety of both of them, and that seals all of it up, keeps it nice and tight, and it makes for a better looking finished product.
Yep, and like you said, it keeps the wires from interacting from each strand of the light. So we'll back this out and put that together, and we'll give you another look as we progress through it. Okay, so we've soldered the first wire, and we discovered that we need to do a little tinning, let's say, to the tip of the soldering iron. So we'll see what happens with this one. It's getting there.
It's getting there.
So it would help with a lighter gauge solder. We're kind of a little overkill with this setup.
And typically I have a little can of flux that I put a little flux on there that just helps clean it and make it a little easier, but we're working with what we got, so we're good.
So now we have solder on that wire.
All right, you can let go of that.
Whoop.
Oop, oop. Okay, all right, so now we've got the heat shrink tubing over the first joint, and no, we're not trying to hide an ugly joint. Now the second one, we're just going to put this over top every bit of this. We'll even go top of that, and I'm going to go ahead and leave that in place, and we will shrink both of them at the same time.
And we usually, what, we use just a lighter for that?
Lighter works fine.
Okay. Yeah, we're both trying to fight each other.
Yeah.
I'll just let you move.
Yeah, you hold it there, and I'll just roll it back and forth.
Because I'm trying to move while you're trying to move.
Because neither one of us are dancers.
Probably not.
Okay. Get the ends of that a little bit, make sure it's tight. And that's all it is.
So now, there we go.
There we go.
So that's in its sleeve. It's soldered, and we'll move on and get the other 3 done, and then show you how we progress from there. At this point, all of the pigtails, let's say, are wired on, and they're different lengths because they're going to go in different locations within the box. But now Robert is applying the backing tape. So that will be what holds these to the inside of the cabinet. That's really all there is to it.
That's it.
So we'll finish out the other pieces, and then we'll show you where they're going to go inside of the cabinet. So again, the plan is to make all of the ends work their way over to the side of the cabinet where the switch is. So this light will end up on this side, of course, upside down, you know, with the sticker. This one on this side, and then at the top, we didn't know what would be the best way to do this. So we decided, well, maybe we'll just angle these inside so that it creates, you know, a better light area, but those will be at an angle, because we could overlap them like this, you know, but I think we'll go with that and see what happens. The hard part about this is the inside of the cabinet is going to be filthy, so I'm going to have to clean up the top side of this. I'll probably use paper towels and Windex and go over it several times. I'm not going to show you that, I'm just letting you know, and that way it's clean. The other thing we need to do is take apart the switch mechanism on the other side. So we'll show you that. Now, we're going to change things a little bit because Robert had suggested that I replace these gloves. Since they're coming out anyway, we'll get them out of the way so that we can get inside and press the lights up easier into the cabinet. To do that, if you look at the packaging for, these are a new set of gloves from Harbor Freight, it's just a sleeve. It's just a collar that goes around this plastic piece. So all you need to do, get into the cabinet. Again, this is pretty dirty in here, but take a Phillips screwdriver and you're going to loosen up the clamp that's on top of the glove itself. Slide this off, and there you have it. So you have the clamp and then the glove. Now this glove, as I've noted, this thing has deteriorated incredibly. I mean, it is just garbage. So we'll move on. So at this point we have, you know, the gloves out of the way. I've taken paper towel and Windex and cleaned up the inside, and now we're going to take this switch off. Thankfully it has bolt or nuts on the inside, so we're going to have to be careful here and just make sure I can get a hold of that. Okay.
All right.
Wait.
Are you there? Got it. And the top one?
I can only get the nut in the washer. See how that goes? Try it. Yep. Ow, whoa.
Yeah,
That one bit. That one bit in.
Yep.
Think you got it? Got it. And the washer. Okay.
All right.
So inside the box, if you were, let's set it up here just so you can see. You've got the switch. It's in a protective boot or cover. Take this off. This is actually connecting to the light inside. This is the power source. with the DC inverter, right?
12 volt DC.
12 volt DC that plugs into that, and then that just connects to the switch. So ideally, we need to separate this from the switch, and then incorporate all of those wires from those into this.
And we will be removing this existing wire because this light doesn't work anymore.
Right. So we can unplug these two and should be able to unscrew this.
Yep.
And have that come apart.
And there is actually a nut on the inside that tightens down to seal on the wire on the inside.
Good point. So see if we can pull those off. You need pliers?
Pliers. Make it easier.
Yeah. So now you can take that nut off.
Take that from the inside.
Okay.
You have to reach up in there, there'll be a nut.
All right.
Okay.
Got the
You
nut.
just loosen it up, you don't have to take it off.
Got it.
Or you can take it off. That
I'll just
works
take
too.
it off all the
That
way.
works.
So now we have the light
All right.
out.
All right. See that?
So there's a light assembly.
That was our light.
Yeah.
And this is what's inside. And this actually tightens down on the wire,
and it seals it up.
It seals it to keep dust.
So we need to salvage that
erosion.
for this process.
Exactly. All our new wires will run through this, and we will tighten that down just like they did before.
Okay.
Maybe add a little tape to it to
Yeah.
seal it up. Call it good.
So we just got to get the wires out of that then, and just do one at a time. Maybe it'll come out. Maybe.
If it
Or we just cut the ends off because the light's junk.
well, it doesn't want to do one at a time. It's fighting me.
Oh, okay. But the light is junk anyway, so.
Yep. And there is a small seal in here. There is a little bit of a seal, which all your wires will go through that. How well the seal works, I couldn't tell you.
All right.
But there it is.
Okay, so we'll get the lights up in place, I guess, and then get the
lights in
wires,
place,
all the
we will
pigtails out.
Pull them through. We'll wire them all up out here. Figure out which one's positive, which one's negative on each one of them, and we'll get them all wired up.
All right. Okay, at this point, we have the lights pressed up in to the back side of the top panel. I did have the retaining clips for the original light, and I just fed the wires through those, ran some zip ties through the end of it, and now we have to get the nut started. As you can see, hopefully get that nut tightened up on, I don't know what you would call this, a gland. So get that tightened up, and then we'll have to figure out which wires are which for the lights themselves. Now, as Robert had said, we could have
if we had red and black wire, we wouldn't have had to figure out which polarity it was, but we're working with what we have.
Right.
It's just it's not a big deal.
So the idea is if your lights, they have a black and a white on them. So if you'd extended those out with a black on the black and a white on the white, then all of your pigtails on this end would be the same, and you wouldn't have to figure out which one's which. But we'll have to figure that out as well. We'll get this tightened up and move on from there.
Yep.
Well, we have, again, the lights in place, and we're showing you the wires. What we found was, just an observation here, these lights actually have a switch, which kind of threw us off whenever we were testing the wires, because one of these was on and the other three were off. So we figured that out. And then up here, Robert has...
We've got both sides wired up. After we figured out the polarity of each one, I don't know which is positive, I don't know which is negative. It's just a matter of matching up with which one works with our power supply.
Right.
So you go back and forth, you figure them out, and then
so
now
you used...
now I've used, this is off the original light, so this is tied into here. So now all we will do is we're going to take and plug it back into the original switch, and we will just pop that right back onto there.
But before we do that,
good on there.
before we pop it on, we'll plug this in, plug in the power source, cycle it, make sure the lights work before we put all this back together.
And make sure the switch works.
Correct. Yes.
Because we don't know if the
Because we
switch
don't know
works.
for sure that the switch works. So I'll let you do that, and then we'll reset and have a look. Okay,
All right.
so he's wired it back up, as we said, and we've got the power source on the back side.
It's plugged in.
So flip the switch. Let me go over here.
Over there.
So here we have no light, and there we have more light. And again, these have little switches on them. Not that you'll ever use those in here, I would think, but that's going to help. That's going to light up the interior, and you could add more of these lights if you wanted to, but that's going to help me tremendously. Now, the bigger problem I will have is coming through, you know, of course my light up above is reflecting off the glass here, but even that is way better than what I could see before, and this isn't even clean, you know, so that's going to help a lot. Okay, so as you can see, I have the glove on the other side. It's just a matter of stretching it up and over this collar. It's not complicated. And then when you get the clamp on, you want to just make sure you slip it on so that your drive head or the Phillips head is facing towards you, just for ease of assembly. But these gloves, they feel like they're pretty decent. I know they're not cheap. They're like $29 at Harbor Freight. There may be other variations out there. Maybe Amazon or somebody has them, but I wanted ones that I knew would fit, and these happen to fit. So I'm going to get that put back together, and we'll go on from there. So the gloves are in place. The light switch is connected. Give you one more look at the top here if I can show you at least how well lit it is, even inside the garage, you know, with the overhead lights that are probably, you can see from the reflection overhead there, but that's a big improvement. I will definitely be able to use this without adding another light on the inside. I was putting like one of those Braun LED flashlights inside in a bread bag just so I had some light, but this is a big improvement. I want to thank Robert for sharing and his expertise in this. There will probably be another improvement or two that I come up with for this. I know there's other videos out there where they do a lot of extensive improvements. I'm probably going to do it a little here and a little there. So, any thoughts?
No, it makes life a lot easier.
When you can see what you're working on.
It is so nice to see what you're working on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Leave a comment what you think about this video. And until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.